Hi and welcome back to my channel. My name is Mia Renvall and this is Healing Intimacy Interviews. Today I have with me Sean Grünböck. No, I got completely.
It was perfect.
Today I have with me Sean Grünböck from Austria. He's a radical honesty trainer candidate and my good friend, and we will talk about intimacy. Hi, Sean.
Hey, Mia. Hi.
How are you today? What do you notice in your body?
Yeah, I'm good. I notice a little tension here. I imagine a little excited.
Mm-hmm. I also notice a bit of tension around my mouth and in my shoulders, and I imagine I'm also excited to talk to you and get this ball rolling again. It's been a while with the interviews, so I'm happy to have you on the first after a long summer break. So let's go into the topic. What does the word intimacy mean to you?
Yeah, I imagine it's a closeness with another person or even with myself, and the experience in that closeness. Like, how do I experience this closeness and what comes up? So emotional vulnerability of would be something that comes up, and I imagine that's just one of the ways of showing up truthfully. So truthfully, yeah, honesty is something that which we're about, I guess.
We're all about it, right? Radical honesty is important to you and honesty in general. So, in your intimate relationships, I imagine you use that a lot. So, do you have some kind of special techniques or tools how you create deeper intimacy in your relationships?
Well, as you said, I like to use radical honesty if possible. So it might look more really like the radical honesty language. I resent you, appreciate you, and these kind of things when the other person is familiar. And if the other person is not familiar with this context, I usually use softer language because I experience sometimes that it clashes too much if the other person doesn't know the positive intent behind using these words or strong language, which in my opinion is connection. So that's one thing. I personally am a very bodily person, so I like to use bodily contact, whether it's sexual or I dance a lot, contact improvisation. So, and I like to cuddle, and I also just like to hug and touch. You could say I'm a touchy person. So that's surely something that happens.
And how do your relationships look right now in your life? Like what type of relationships do you have?
I imagine you would call it polyamorous or call me polyamorous. I don't know. So I'm seeing or being intimate with several women at the moment. And it's something rather new since the beginning of this year that this has come up in this way. And I'm investigating it right now. I'm enjoying myself. And I'm also quite surprised that it's quite frictionless. I mean, there are conflicts coming up. And with two of the women I see, I also know their other boyfriends or their primary partners, and I feel very connected to them, and it's wonderful actually, and this model that I'm living right now also throws me back at myself because the basis is me. I'm on my own, and then I see these wonderful women. And there kind of it also changes this whole thing of a relationship because then it's not so different from friendships. It might be more intimate, more already the sexual encounter makes it more intimate, and there are other things coming up, of course, if I meet with a woman on a deeper level. So more childhood stuff or more issues might come up than with just a friend. But I'm kind of noticing a shift in my head as to what is relationship, like what is really what is a romantic relationship, what is partnership. So these words I like to investigate these words, because I imagine with these words we create our landscape of connection, or we put things in place in our landscape of connection with people.
Exactly. It's in radical honesty, we talk a lot about stories. So, kind of marriage or relationship. It's like, I imagine the word can mean multiple things for multiple people.
Yeah.
There might be there might be polyamorous people who are married, very committed, or polyamorous people who are more free agents, so to say. So it's I hear you with that. That it's kind of like all the time investigating and negotiating with yourself and the other people you are intimate with, like what are the boundaries, and probably also asking for what you want. How much do you have kind of desire moments where you kind of go into this desire diary, or like ask the other person like how they want to create intimacy, or is there a conversation like that going on?
That's interesting. How do you want to create intimacy? I think that question itself could
Hmm.
be a good starter. Um, what I notice a lot is this dance of closeness and distance, even in scheduling or something, like I would like to see you, but you're busy. So this connection autonomy thing is always happening. So this is an area of asking for what you want, which obviously in this free polyamorous thing is more prominent than if you have one dedicated partner that you might see several times a week. Then so that's one interesting part. And I like what you said before about polyamory could mean so many different things, and about negotiating or something.
Hmm.
And I think that's one big part that I enjoy right now. It's like this freedom to find out what is it that the two of us want to share. So I guess one big part is there's the sexual encounter. Otherwise, you don't even need the word polyamory. Like somehow in my world, because I can say I love my friends without having to have this kind of label, right? So this physical intimacy seems to be one thing, but then there's also the other questions. What are other things that we want to explore? How much time do we want to spend? Other so this is something that in every relationship would be good. And I noticed that in a normal monogamous relationship, sometimes I wouldn't pose these questions so much, because it's just like we're together now, bam, like, and that means we do this and this and this, and I don't know, we spend this much time, and then there's conflicts arising. We don't even know where it comes from, because we never talked about it, because there was no need to talk about it. And obviously, being polyamorous, there's a need to talk about it, because there are several people involved, and time there's I wouldn't say scarcity, but timing is an issue. So you know, you, and that's what I experience for myself. Also, I can be more like, do I want to see this person now or not? Like more truthful with what I want and in this connection.
Beautiful. Yeah, I like talking about what I want and negotiating and making it super clear. Then there aren't any assumptions. Like in relationships, there might be like, I assume you will, or I expect you to. And if we don't ask for what we want, then it's very unclear for the other person, and it becomes like you have to read their thoughts.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so the clearer the better. So for you, if you don't mind talking about it, going a little bit to triggers, like what are some triggers you have noticed that disconnect you from intimacy with your partners?
One thing is that if I notice like a, like a neediness or something, mostly in direct contact. So if I'm like not quite there yet to connect, or would still, and then there's like this pulling energy, there I then tense up a little bit and go into distance. And I know that from myself too, that I can be like this. So it's very interesting. Um, and interesting that I'm experiencing this more now that I have several partners, whereas before I would always be on the other side. Like if I only have one partner, I'm nearly completely on the other side, needing more. And with several partners, I can find myself on this side of like, oh, I need a little space here. This is one thing. Other triggers. Also, sometimes, but it's happening less if I know that my partner is with another man, or occupied with other things, and I don't get what I ask for, basically, or there's even just a fear that I won't get for enough, then I might experience something like so a retreating and like being beleidigt. What is it, beleidigt?
Is it like upset or?
Yes, or grumpy, or like something like that. And I'm really like surprised how this jealousy has really gotten much less. And I'm pretty sure a setting might come up again where there's a woman that triggers jealousy in me. And lately it hasn't, like, and I've had one really tough relationship where I was so jealous that kind of a lot got burned away, I imagine.
I've heard many polyamorous people talk about jealousy, and I love how they talk about it. I imagine jealousy isn't actually like an emotion. It's like a concept or a story, really. Like, and for different people, also jealousy means different things. So it might be like a vulnerability, a fear of abandonment. I'm like, and then if you kind of own it and just say, hey, I'm right now in this moment, I'm afraid to lose you. Like, I don't want to lose you. I want to be with you, and just own that honestly, like what's going on. Then I imagine the fear and resentment towards also the other partners might subside. How much do you talk about this with the other partners, and how do you rebuild connection after these triggers come up? Like, is it sharing, or like what helps you in these moments?
I do, like, I'll talk a lot about my fear of abandonment and fear of being alone, and whenever it comes up where I'm like, you're more connected to this other person, like these things, this is a big part of what I like to do and do. And that in itself already, like, so I experience that it's mostly about really putting it all out there. Sometimes I get this image of like I should be content and happy, like I have several women, so what, like, where does this fear come up? Like, why do I? And but that's bullshit, so in one meeting actually these things come up, and it's wonderful to be able to share those, and then they lose power, really. And then there might be some pain or sadness, as you said, like, then there's a few emotions, or anger, or a desire, like, I also want this or something, like, and that's pretty easy to handle, or to, whereas jealousy, or that's like a big thing.
Yeah, it's a very vague concept, really. Like, just kind of breaking it down into smaller pieces, I imagine, helps me to deal with whatever insecurities I might face in relationships. So you're also a Radical Honesty trainer candidate, and you're assisting in Radical Honesty workshops. How do you see intimacy playing out in these workshops? Like, what do you see that is in Radical Honesty? There's a lot of snot now. I'm gonna cut that away.
I want you to leave it in there. Are you willing to leave that in there?
I don't know, I might.
We will find out.
We will find out. There's a lot of snot there.
Yeah, no.
So let me ask that one.
I know the question, and I will answer now. like that's why I love radical honesty, right? I have a weekly meetup here, and I'm planning to do something else only for men, maybe bi-weekly, and I'm co-leading weekend workshops. Like I'm planning a lot of these things, and I see like how close this group comes together and how much intimacy is there in this little amount of time. Of course, some people already know each other, and there's also my setting. It's I do it at home, and kind of people come here and already they feel like arriving a little bit. But really, this language and these mini exercises that we do, right? We don't even do such big exercises. We have one question maybe, and for an evening of 2 hours, that one question proves to be enough, a little bit of grounding, a little bit in the body, and then it's talking. And how to express openly and honestly what's going on with you, and the stories, even if they are stories, to share those, but in a way to acknowledge that they're stories, right? And to share these things, how then like this ping pong play of interaction starts. And then when I or we coach this, and stop it if somebody goes into a lengthy mental stuff, and bring back to the body, back to the emotion, back to the more authentic, congruent expression, it's like miracles happen, like, and then after these miracles, energetic miracles happen, there's a and just like a more connection.
Mm, I agree with you. Like I appreciate you for using the word miracle and connection and community. And I really, I feel the same way. Like I've met you in the 9 month training we did together online. So I haven't really met you in person yet. And I regard you as a really close friend. And I imagine it's because, and now I create a story, like because it's always a story. So I'm going consciously into a story. I create a story that just by doing these exercises together, you and I also shared a lot of, desire diary during these
Yeah.
months, and like sharing really deep, like what we want to achieve in life. And when you do an exercise like this, you just like connect on a more deeper level than you would normally, just going out for a beer or something like this. So I also agree that I've created very deep friendships during the years that I've been practicing radical honesty, so
Yes.
to say. Yeah. And I'm very happy that I have met you, and I appreciate you for being here and talking about intimacy. Is there still something you would want to add
Well, I
about?
like the last thing. I like what you said. Through doing the practices, a deep connection can come, and a sense of friendship. And I'm surprised in how quickly I can connect to certain people and get this resonance, and like this feels like really a big friendship. And of course, it might not be a friendship. So a friendship entails, to me, like in our case, that is true because we have been communicating continuously for many months, and that then I would call it a friendship. And with some other people, a deep connection comes, and there's this feeling this could be a friendship, if it is something that is continued over a longer period of time. And that then has to do with logistics. Like, do we live
Exactly.
in the same city? Do we have the same time zone? Are we interested in the same things? What are our calendars doing? And so that's one big part of, for me, radical honesty, or even like polyamory. It comes in the same vein there, to see like, wow, there are so many amazing people, like, and if we are willing to show more honestly, and to connect on a more honest level, and to cut the bullshit and go, like, really share the juicy stuff, then such a connection comes up where it's like the world, there's so many good friends out there. It's just, or so many potential good friends, or it feels like good friends. And even if I don't only see them once a year or something, and I find that amazing, it kind of shifts the whole idea, or whole, there's these friends, and that's, like, and the rest is just acquaintances. Yeah.
Exactly. And I like to see it that when we come together in a circle like that, it's like a container. It's like we create a container with doing these agreements that we agree to be honest, and we have confidentiality and asking for what you want and all these. Like we create a field where you can bring in very deep topics when you know that nobody's going to talk about it outside the circle. I imagine that just creates a safety where we can like be very intimate and touched by other people's stories and pain and grief, sadness, anger, and also help by mirroring, you know. I might resent you in a workshop and it's really not about you.
Yeah.
And you're just there to be my friend and be my ally in that moment to clear something from the past. And I
Or
see that happening also a lot in romantic relationships, where actually we project a lot onto the other, we mirror stuff, and you know, we see ourselves in the other's behavior, like you also said, that sometimes the other person actually reminds you of you, and then you get triggered by the behavior that you usually do. So we all do this, and just to acknowledge it and be like, hey, we're all a bit, you know, triggered and traumatized and messed up at sometimes, and that's okay too. And then just to own up to it and grow
yeah,
together. Mm.
absolutely. And one thing, when what you just said, one thing that came up was also that sometimes it's mirroring and projection, but sometimes it's also the openness to real feedback. So how, like, and I'm reading Susan Campbell's book Getting Real, and she says truth skill number 4 or something is feedback, receiving feedback. I think that's sometimes not, we don't talk about that so much in the radical honesty context, but that's very valuable too, because in the normal world out there, people might just nod their head, you know, and think like she's doing the her Mia thing again, you know, but not express it. And so you go about and don't know what's what. And then you go to a radical honesty workshop and somebody resents you for something, and you're like, and it might be partly their thing, and you might also be like, oh shit, there might be something that I do and I always do it. And finally somebody says something about it, you know, it's like,
Exactly, and it's the
hey.
biggest gift ever.
Yeah,
Because how can we ever grow
yeah,
if we don't, you know, get feedback? So
yeah,
that's very beautiful. And I also did a deal yesterday with my partner. We actually agreed that if at any point the other person's, when we share, because we both talk a lot, so if we start to get bored, we
yeah.
actually shook hands on it, like, please
Tell me.
say stop or tell honestly if you know you're getting bored with me, because I imagine that's one way of losing connection. If
Absolutely.
the other person is just yapping on and
Then
you're
you
afraid
drift
to say
off.
like, hey.
Yeah. Drift off in your head, and you're like, yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, exactly. So cool. Cool to talk to you about these topics. I'm very happy to see you again. I love everything you do. You do a lot of meditations. You also sing. And so check out Sean's links below. And let's keep connecting. And hopefully one day we will meet in person as well. It will
Yes,
definitely
absolutely.
happen somewhere in the world. Until
Yeah.
then, I'll keep seeing you through the screen here online.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sean. I appreciate you
You-
for being my friend and for being here.